The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, my name is Beverly Bolnick, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at NMP, and I would like to welcome you to National Mortgage Professional Magazine's webinar titled Top 9 Tactics from 9 Top Producers, sponsored and presented by CMPS Institute. I would like to thank all of our webinar attendees for taking the time out of their busy days for this very valuable and informative webinar in our ongoing series of webinars. Today's webinar will be conducted by Nicholas, who is the creator and producer of Top Producer Roundtable. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of CMPS Institute, an organization that has trained, coached, and certified over 7,000 of the nation's top loan originators since 2005. Gibran is regularly quoted as a financial housing expert in national publications as the Wall Street Journal, Market Watch, Business Week, and the Washington Post, and has been featured on Fox and ABC News. Gibran is joined by special guest Jennifer Duplessis, who has consistently generated over $1 million in personal annual revenue each year for the past 20 years. She's funded over $1 billion in loans, and she's been named in the top 200 list of loan originators in the U.S. Jen is also the host of Mortgage Lending Mastery, a podcast where she shares insights gleaned from over 30 years' experience in this industry. Jen shares her systems, structure, and implementation strategies to lead a high-performance origination team. If you have questions during the webinar, please be sure to ask them in the questions area of the GoToWebinar console, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the webinar. Also, we'll be sending out the PowerPoint presentation and a link to the recording of the webinar to all webinar registrants tomorrow for your future reference. Without any further ado, I'd like to turn things over to Gibran Nicholas.
Well, thank you, Beverly. It's really great for us to be here with you and with all the attendees today. Thanks for putting this webinar together. I've been huge fans of National Mortgage Professional Magazine for quite some time, and I'm really glad that you guys are still doing great work for the industry and sharing insights. Along that vein, I want to also thank Jennifer for joining me today. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I know that you've carved out some special time to spend with us. You're actually in the middle right now of teaching a class to a group of realtors in your market. And so, thanks for taking about 30 or 40 minutes to spend with us today. And we're excited, a lot of great insight to share. So,
great.
I think what I'd like to start by doing is just giving everyone a little background on the Top Producer event, the Top Producer Tour, and then we'll get right into the 9 tactics. So the way this idea started is I was talking to some of the industry's top originators like Jennifer just last year, in fact, and we were lamenting the state of our industry, saying, gosh, there's a lack of inspiration right now in the mortgage industry. And every event you go to, you hear the same speakers, you hear the same content, everything seems to be regurgitated. And not only that, but the executives in our industry are just so short-sighted. Everyone is just worried about closing loans and staying out of jail, really. I mean, that's kind of what the theme is for the last couple of years, is how do we just close loans profitably and stay out of jail? And then you compare this with other industries like the tech industry or really any other industry besides for housing and mortgages, and you have a lot of inspiring leaders and concepts that they talk about. People like Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon, he says, we see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better. And so when you contrast that attitude, that frame of mind, that mission statement, with the mission and frame of mind of most of the people in today's mortgage industry, you see a very large difference, right? And so the idea behind Top Producer Roundtable and CMPS is really to tell a different story. It's to tell the story of what you do every day, that it matters. That when you come to work every day as a loan originator, you're touching somebody's life. You're impacting a homeowner, a home buyer, a realtor, a financial advisor, and you're improving their life. And when you think about it, you're at the center of their life. You're at the center of their home, their money, their lifestyle. And if it wasn't for you, they might not be able to get that home that they're getting and live in that school district for their kids. Or they might not be able to build that addition to house mom and dad as they age. Or they might not be able to send their kids to college or save money on their cash flow. And so we want to tell that story. And our mission as certified mortgage planning specialists. You know, when we started CMPS back 10 years ago, we were celebrating our 10-year anniversary today. We've had over 7,000 people graduate from the CMPS certification. And our mission as certified mortgage planning specialists is to improve lives through mortgage planning. And so we got together with top producers like Jennifer and like Craig and Brent and some of the others who have gone through CMPS, who are familiar with our way of doing business, our philosophy, our mission. And we went out on tour across the country, on the West Coast, on the East Coast, in February and March, and we were telling this story. You know, how can you impact somebody's life positively and at the same time make a tremendous amount of money in the mortgage business without stressing out too much, right? And so that's the mission. That's what we were trying to accomplish. And boy, let me tell you, we walked away with so many good ideas, so much good content. Jennifer was at 10 of these events, so that's why I asked her to join us. She's the most familiar with all the speakers and all the content because she was participating with me in most of the events. And so before we get started in sharing with you the tactics and strategy, Jennifer and I, we would like to know a little bit more about you and your business. And so I'd like to see if Beverly can ask you one of the polling questions. There's two questions I've got for you. What's your monthly unit volume? And then secondly, what's your #1 challenge that you're facing in your business, so that we make sure that we make the rest of our time together most productive based on the majority of the folks on this call, what your challenges are right now as loan originators. And so Beverly, if you will, could you share with us those polling questions?
Absolutely. So our first question is up on the screen. If you could answer what's your monthly unit volume. I'll give you about 30 seconds to answer. I'm not measuring the exact time, but I'll make sure everyone's pretty much answered, and then I'll share the results with you. Congratulations on your 10th anniversary, Gibran. I didn't know that was today.
Well, yeah, it's actually this year. It'll be June of this year. It's not actually today, but it's this year. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary here at CMPS.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to close up that poll question in another few seconds. Okay, I'm going to share that with you right now. So the results, 23% of you said 1 to 2 loans per month. 25% of you said 3 to 4. 27% of you said 5 to 6. 12% of you said 7 to 9. And 12% said 10 plus loans per month. Okay, I'm going to share the second poll question with you now. And that is, what's your #1 challenge right now? If you could answer that question on your screen, and then we'll share the results for that one as well. Okay, I'm going to close this one up in a few seconds. Okay, and I'll share the results with you. The vast majority, 40%, said sales, referral relationships. And then the next highest one was time management and time blocking at 26%. 15% of you said sales, borrowers, and rate shoppers. 10% said operations and underwriting, and 8% said delegating and managing my team.
Well, this is really good insight for us to have. I guess the two biggest challenges right now are growing your sales and managing your time, right? And so I think, Jennifer, is that pretty much in line with what we've seen across the country as we went on this tour?
Yeah, absolutely. It's perfect. That's pretty much what everyone is experiencing right now, and I can't wait to talk about my portion at the end because I think I can address both at the same time.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that when you think about the challenges of today's loan originator, these are really the two main areas. It's time blocking, time management, and growing sales. How do we improve the relationships that we have with referral partners? How do we compete with in-house lenders and MSAs? How do we take relationships that we may have had for 5 or 10 years and really take them to the next level? And so I think along those lines is a great transition to start chatting a little bit about our takeaways from Brent's session. So I'm going to introduce you to each of these 9 top producers, and Jen and I are just going to share with you 1 or 2 things that we walked away with from our time with these top producers on the top producer tour. So Brent, a really interesting guy. I mean, he's been named in the top 200 list of loan originators many, many years in a row. About 5 years ago, decided to take a sabbatical. He's closed over $1 billion in loans in his career, by the way. So 5 years ago, decided to leave the business and get some perspective. And so instead of kicking back on a beach somewhere and relaxing, he ended up starting another company, built it to the point where he's generating $20 million a year in revenue from his other company, right? And so was so passionate about mortgages and mortgage planning that he jumped back into the mortgage business about a year ago. He says, it's like, I felt this affinity, this push, this pull back to go in the mortgage business and really impact people's lives. And so he jumped back into the business, and just within the last year, he's taken his production from 0 to $5 million a month in volume out of the Dallas market. And so what I really appreciate about Brent's message is, first of all, it comes with some really great perspective, because not a lot of us have had the experiences that he's had of stepping away from the business and then stepping back in, and then during our time away learning a lot, building a $20 million company, and then jumping back in, right? And so from his insight and perspective, I walked away with a couple of great takeaways. The first is that he's very relational in his focus. And a lot of people talk about being relationship-driven versus transactional. But when you think about your loan process and your relationships with borrowers and creating raving fans out of your client, are they raving fans of you, or are they raving fans of your loan process? When they think about you, do they think about, gosh, this is a really awesome guy, I got to introduce all my friends and relatives to him? Or do they really think about, oh, I really had a good mortgage experience, and he got my loan done on time, right? And so Brent's perspective was, listen, instead of creating a raving fan out of the transaction, why don't you create a raving fan out of you, where the borrower really feels this connection to you, and your relationship starts at the closing, doesn't really end at the closing. And so he's got a lot of great ways of keeping in touch with his borrowers, not through generic marketing, but by sending them gifts after the closing. And so he sends them things for St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day. And he showed us one email he got while we were at the event from a borrower saying, to the realtor, saying, I don't know where you got this guy Brent from, but I got to tell you, I closed my loan 6 months ago, and this is the 3rd gift I've received from him. And if your company isn't using him exclusively, you guys ought to be using him exclusively to do loans, right? And so what Brent's big takeaway was, really focus your efforts on wowing the borrower and the referral partner and creating a fantastic raving fan out of you, out of the relationship, instead of just focusing on the transaction. So that was my big takeaway from Brent. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And, just to kind of give you a sense of what else he had to say, the one thing that we all tend to do, or a lot of people do in our business, is they go to referral partners, to realtors, and say, good service, we provide great service, I can close your loan quickly. And the bottom line is, and what I loved hearing him say, is that people tend to, or loan officers tend to take credit for the things that they're supposed to do. And so you're supposed to provide good service, and you're supposed to make the transaction smooth. That's the given. That's the baseline. And so he and I were just talking the other day, and I said, really what it is because I'm so big on systems, it's a system with sincerity. And that's the difference, is that you have the systems to provide the good service, but you're putting the sincerity and the personal touches in there so that the client feels very close to you in the relationship. And these systems that all of us talked about during the tour, they're non-negotiables. These are non-negotiables. These are things that have to be done and that are prudent and required in order to really develop strong relationships with our clients. It isn't something that you do a little bit this time and a little bit that time. And what ends up happening is that you come from a place of abundancy as opposed to scarcity. So you're not a cat on a marble floor trying to get a deal. You're coming from a place of abundancy that says, I'm bringing so much value to my referral partners and my borrowers that you just can't afford not to work with me. And that's really what he was all about, is making sure that we have that sincerity and that genuine care about our clients through a system that they don't know we actually have. And
right.
that's really what I loved about him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, being genuine and making sure that you come up with a system of implementing where the borrower really feels like they're your only client, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think you have a really great way of sort of tying in how to implement that idea. I mean, so I guess the big idea here is make sure that you make the borrower feel really important and special, not only during the transaction, but even after the closing. And I think one of the things that you do really well, Jen, to sort of tie this in, is you come up with a marketing calendar ahead of time for the entire year, so that you sort of plan out, you know, what you're going to do for Valentine's Day and what you're going to do for St. Patrick's Day, and you've got it all budgeted and planned so that you're not running around at the last minute trying to get this stuff done.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's really key. And I mean, that gets back to the time management aspect that, you know, we'll talk about later, you know, with everyone's issues, you know, with the time management as well. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome. So that was Brent's takeaway. And of course, you know, there's a lot more to the message. We're just sort of giving you a cursory overview right now. And if you want the recordings of all these speakers, we'll tell you how you can gain access to that at the end of today's webinar. We'll show you how you can get access to the recordings of all these speakers and all their presentations. But Rhonda was another great resource for all of us, because Rhonda came all the way down from Alaska, believe it or not. And so it's not very often that you get the chance to interact with somebody from that part of the country. But Rhonda's big takeaway was very much along the same lines as Brent, is, you know, do what other loan originators just are not willing to do, and you know, systematize your process with checklists, and make sure that, you know, you've got everything in order so that you don't miss anything, and also take the time to make the borrower feel special. And so one of the things that she does is, at the end of the year, she sends the borrowers a copy of their HUD-1 statement from their closing, along with a, if it was a purchase transaction, a way to get their homestead exemption if they're living in there as their primary residence, the contact info for the county where they live, where they can apply for the homestead exemption, as a way of saving money on their property taxes. And so she goes above and beyond what other originators are doing. And she also takes the time to learn the loan program, because in the state of Alaska, they've got a lot of unique programs for first-time home buyers, where a lot of down payment assistance programs and things that other loan officers just are not willing to take the time to learn. And so what Rhonda's done is she's taken the time to learn these systems and programs, and it's gotten to the point now where she's got a 40% market share in her community. When you think about it, what would it look like if you had a 40% market share in your community by doing things that other people just are not willing to do? And so that was my big takeaway from Rhonda is, you know, focus on the borrower relationship, do the things that people are not willing to do, and the positive results will come, you know, as a result of that.
Yep. Yep, and she, you know, she's great. She was so lovely, and you know, the thing is, she's not a fancy person, and she's just so genuine, you know, in everything that she's doing. And you know, one thing that I took away from her, and while I'm a huge systems person, and you know, and I live and breathe systems, you know, the way that she explained it was, I thought, very interesting. You know, because she does fly quite a bit in Alaska. She doesn't do a lot of driving. She does a lot of flying as well, and she has to. And she said, you know, every time I go, the pilot goes through their 100-point checklist. Every single time. He never fails to miss anything in that checklist. And she relayed that to our industry and saying that you've got to establish a checklist that is so precise and down to the nth degree in knowing who's going to do what and when, and it has to be done every single time that you do a loan. So you can't skip one of those steps, or that could be disaster, right, in flying. But I liked her analogy on how you cannot skip, you know, those steps. The other thing, like you've already said, is, you know, is that she has to do a lot of sorting through USDA and you know, your local county, your county programs and your state programs, and you know, all these other peripheral programs. And she's got to be really aware, because she's got a very unique market. You know, being an expert on every single loan program. And so I think being a steward of your business is really, really important, along with making sure that you have a systemized standardized checklist and that you go through that checklist the same way every single time with every single loan.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. And, she actually made her checklist available. So when you access the recordings for these events, and again, I'll show you how to do that at the end of today's call, her checklist will be alongside of that so that you'll be able to see exactly what she's talking about.
Yep.
Kelly's big takeaway, and this was an interesting theme that I didn't realize before, because most of the top producers, including yourself, Jen, you all meet with your clients face-to-face.
Yeah.
And that was a big a light bulb that I discovered during this series of events. And Kelly does something really unique that other top producers seem to be doing as well. Is not only does she meet the clients face to face, but she actually has a conversation with the borrower about the market. And so, for example, all these top producers are CMTS members. And so what Kelly does is she shows clients a picture of the bond market right here. Here's what's happening with bonds today, and here's what's happening with mortgage rates. Gives them like a 30-second overview of what's going on, and says, based on your pre-approval scenario, you're looking to buy a house at some point in the next 30 to 60 days. Would you like us to use today's rate as we run the scenarios for you? Or as you can see, the market fluctuates a lot. Would you like us to increase the rate by a quarter as we run the numbers for you? And invariably, the borrower always says, well, why don't we increase the rate by a quarter as you're running the scenarios just in case the market changes? And so I found that to be extremely powerful because what Kelly is doing through that face-to-face meeting is not only is she able to read the nonverbal communication that the borrower is sharing with her, but she's also able to establish trust and change the conversation when it comes to rate shopping. So instead of focusing on quoting the lowest possible rate, which is what most loan officers do, Kelly educates the borrowers and she guides them and she connects them. She's got this three-step process, and it involves showing them a picture of what's happening in the market and then letting them understand, listen, these are the factors that might impact your rate moving forward, and then changing the conversation to the point where the borrower is comfortable using a rate that's even 1/4% higher than what today's rate is as they're running their numbers. So it's not about quoting the lowest rate, it's about creating the best strategy for the borrower's scenario. And I think that was a very powerful way of having the conversation. And I think, Jennifer, you do that as well, right? You meet with the borrower.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually I do. And so, I always share with everyone my statistic, when a client calls on the telephone, and it's important to, we talk about systems and things like that. All of us track as well. That was one of the themes that goes, that everyone talks about, is that we track everything. We track how many referrals, what's our bleed through rate, our closing ratio, etc. And one of the things that I had tracked many, many years ago was my conversion rate on phone calls with clients who are rate shopping and just inquiring about pre-approvals and pre-qualifications. And I had a 33% capture rate when I was on the telephone with them. And of course I looked at my sales skills, etc., to see, if there was anything could be adjusted there. But what I did find out is that when I met with them face-to-face, I had an 87% capture rate. So what do you think I did? I started meeting with people. But I know what everybody's thinking on this call. They're saying, yeah, but where do you find the time to meet the people? And doing the volume that we do, you would think that we wouldn't have the time. But I'm always amazed in my office, we have loan officers that are closing less than 5 loans a month, and every single loan goes out as a Federal Express package or is an emailed package, and they're not meeting their clients face-to-face, and still they don't have time. So what I found is, well, I have to have time. I have to create time to meet with these clients because I have a better ratio of closing, and it's worth my time. So I would rather meet with those clients than field thousands of phone calls and try to sort through and figure out who my client's going to be and not have that personal connection that Brent was talking about. So I think it's very powerful to meet with clients face-to-face, and I do show them the market, just like I'm doing in this class right now. We're about ready to go into another session of math class, and we're showing real estate agents the market so that they have a better understanding, so that when it comes to me from a real estate agent, it's not set up as call 3 lenders and get a rate quote. We're help educating them as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Let me sort of breeze through some of these others because I want to focus on Jen's content with regard to time management. I might want to make sure we get there, before Jen has to go back to teach her class. But a couple of the other speakers, Diane was really great when it came down to illustrating the benefits of pre-underwriting a loan file instead of just issuing a pre-approval. I mean, you think about it, a lot of realtors, they call you on the weekends, they say, hey, give me a pre-approval in the next hour, and they're sort of, trying to, have you work almost as their slave doing all these pre-approvals, right? And so instead of taking that approach and just doing that, why don't you take a completely different approach and say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, my pre-approvals need to actually mean something. And so before we issue just a letter that's meaningless, basically, why don't we actually underwrite the file, have somebody on my team look at the borrower's documents, and so when I give you the pre-approval letter, you can write an offer without any contingencies. And so she was removing the contingency from the offer, and it's putting the buyer in a much stronger negotiating position so that they can compete with some of those cash offers, right? And so in her market, which is in the East Bay of San Francisco, they're getting, multiple offers on homes, and a lot of them are cash buyers. Over 30%, she said, are cash buyers. And so how's her offer with her buyer going to compete with the cash buyer? And one of the ways that it competes is through this whole pre-underwriting process, and it also has the added benefit of skipping those weekend calls from the realtor, scrambling at the last minute, where they're trying to get you to write a meaningless pre-approval letter. And so it's her system is actually pretty cool. I really enjoyed hearing her talk on that. And so that was my big takeaway is you have the borrower submit their docs in the beginning of the process, have someone on your team take a look at it, and so that they can be in a stronger negotiating position when it comes to writing that offer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm with you 100%, and I think we all would agree that it is so important now that you just can't do these phone calls and offer people pre-approvals. There's always something hidden in the file. Every loan has some kind of crazy rub to it, so it goes without saying, as much information as you can get up front in advance is going to benefit everybody involved.
Right, and from a compliance standpoint, you can do that, right? Because the only difference in the new compliance rules is a lot of people think, well, you can't require the borrower to provide documents in order to do a pre-approval, and that's correct. She's not requiring the borrower. It's completely voluntary for the borrower. She's asking the borrower, would you like to have, just a pre-approval with a credit approval, and you can still have a contingency on your offer, or would you like to have an offer with no contingencies? And in order to do no financing contingencies, this is what you would need to choose to do. And so really the choice is up to the borrower. You're not requiring them to do anything, and that's, I think, is a pretty important point, especially in light of all the compliance issues. Yeah. Chris's big takeaway was making sure that you're scripted, because most of the borrowers really have the same questions. And if you can figure out a way of communicating through metaphors, analogies, and stories, and really sharing with the borrower and educating them, I think that your conversation with them will be a lot more effective. And I really enjoyed his talk as well, because he used some examples and put this to the internet and really was able to illustrate some of his points that way.
Yeah, he's had some great things. I mean, a couple. I was giggling when I saw his. I just love Chris. He's so fun. I love that we have these fun relationships now. But the key thing here, when you guys are all listening in, is to remember that borrowers make decisions on net income. They're making their decisions about what they can qualify for and make payments for, and everything that we talk to them about is gross. It's gross income and gross interest rate. It's the pre-tax interest rate, not the post-tax or the effective interest rate. So we have to remember to convert everything over into the terminology that our clients can use and understand, and that pulls you away from the rate shopping game. That will pull you away every single time when we talk about net income, not net income, effective interest rates and the like. So that's something that really, if you want to listen to all the recordings, that you'll take away from him, and I thought that was very powerful, and I'm using it now. So.
Awesome. So I think we're going to skip through some of these because we're running short on time. Scott's big takeaway was making sure that you prospect at least 5 hours a day. I mean, when you think about your schedule, and I think this might be a great transition for you, Jen. Maybe we'll jump right into your content. because Scott's big idea is, listen, most loan originators struggle with structure because we're commissioned salespeople and we don't like people telling us what to do. And if we did like people telling us what to do, we'd go work for the big banks, right? And if we don't work for the big banks, then a lot of times we have a lack of structure when it comes to the way we run our business. Yeah. But if you're spending anything less than 4 to 5 hours a day on sales conversations, then really you're not making the best use of your time. Because the only way you get paid at the end of the month is if you make a sale. And so why are you spending less than half of your time on revenue-generating activities? And so what you need to be able to do is spend at least half of your time on revenue-generating activities like actually having sales conversations and prospecting. And he broke it down into a formula: 15 face-to-face meetings, 5 break breads where you have coffee with somebody or lunch, and then 60 phone conversations a week where you're having an actual conversation with a borrower or referral partner and having an annual review or a strategic meeting with them. And I think in order to free up your time to be able to do that, I mean, think about it. Most people in the loan business today, they want to have fun, right? They want to make sure that, you know, you started in this business and it was kind of fun in the beginning, but then over the years they got, you know, really stressful. And part of the reason it got so stressful is because the way you're spending your time is a lot different than maybe when you first started. And when you first started, you were having those conversations and connecting with people. And nowadays, it's all about the paperwork. Well, what if you can take yourself out of the paperwork game and get back into the relationship game? Then not only can you grow your business, but you can have fun all at the same time and make a lot more money and impact more people. And so I think in order to do that, this is really where your implementation ideas come into play. And so if you will, Jen, talk to us a little bit about you know, how you define your role in the business and some of the ideas that you have that you shared at the Top Producer event.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Okay, so really what I did was come up with this finder, minder, grinder thought process. Is that you know, when we first start out, we are definitely a finder because all we're trying to do is find the business. And then of course once it comes in, we stop going out and finding, and then we sit behind our desk and we're minding the business. We're getting pay stubs and we're communicating with people, and we're grinding. We're grinding out you know, the next round of going out and finding. So we're printing things and creating flyers and doing budgeting and doing all these crazy things. Well, you know, and eventually what happens is the difference between being in the business, and I call it a 10-1 loan officer, someone who's been in the business for 10 years, 1 year at a time. They hit the reset button constantly, and it's go find the business, bring it in, then manage it. Oops, I don't have any business, go back out and find it again. And so they constantly are repeating versus being a 30-year lender. You know, our loan officer has been in the business who has their business growing incrementally every single year. And so so it was important for me to figure out what was my genius zone or my highest and best use. What did I love to do? And what I love to do is meet people. And so I'm the finder. So I had to hire a minder and I had to hire a grinder so that I didn't have to do those activities. And so I came up with this plan of breaking this out on, you know, how does this work. So you can see here on the screen that, you know, the finder's job is proactive income generating activities. Our only role as a finder is to bring the business in. Bring it in, communicate with our clients, when it comes to structuring the loan as certified mortgage planning specialists. The minder is the person who helps with the loan process and operations and customer service, etc. And then, of course, the grinder is the person who does administrative tasks and prepares all the marketing. So if I just go down the finder real quickly, the first is To Eat the Frog. It's a book by Brian Tracy. It's a very quick book, but it's about, you know, that nasty loan that's in the one that keeps you up at night and the thing that bothers you. The first thing you do in the morning is you eat the frog. Don't give that to your assistant or your production partner to do. It's your business, it's your brand. You need to make that phone call on bad news or restructuring, etc. The second is the first and 10s. That's that power hour. That's exactly what Scott was talking about. Which is, you know, making your phone calls first thing in the morning. And our team, we make our phone calls from 9 to 10 every single day. We call for 10 people that we should call, so maybe 3 realtors in our best realtors just to check in, 3 of our past clients, 3 of our prospects, perhaps 3 or 4 of our referral partners like estate planners and financial planners and whatnot. These are phone calls that you should be making just to touch base and check in and create relationships and ask for business. These are not phone calls, where's your pay stub? How come I haven't received your fax? Those are things that your minder will be doing. These are income generating activities. And then the rest of your day is fun. You're visiting realtors, you're visiting your clients, you're in meetings, business meetings with people, you're doing networking, and you're meeting with your clients face-to-face doing mortgage planning and writing thank you notes every time. I write probably 50 thank you notes a week. So that's what the finder does. The minder is the one who answers the phone call. Did you get my fax? Did you get fax? We don't even fax anymore. But did you get my email? I sent this over. What's going on? They communicate with the client. They answer their questions. They also do the loan analysis for me. So when I have a loan that I'm working with, I share that information with my production partner, and my production partner puts together the loan analysis that I then utilize, review, double check, triple check before I meet with the client doing the mortgage planning. They also sit with the client and fill out, or not fill out, but sign the loan disclosures. I don't do that. I don't sit in front of the client and go through the 50 pages of the same things over and over. That's something that my minder does. They do staff oversight and communicating with my processor, finding out where we stand with everything. And they do continuing education. It's important for them to continue to grow as well. My grinder is the person who does the planning and review. For example, what is going to happen next week? Is Jen doing a math class? Do I have the folders ready? These are things that are $10 or $15 an hour jobs. We make more than that in this business. So hire someone to do those things, because in that same time frame, you can make 10 phone calls or 2 phone calls and generate thousands and thousands of dollars of money. They're your database manager. If you go to a networking event, you aren't the one who's putting all that information into the database. They are. They're doing post-closing follow-up. They're calling my clients and saying, hey, it's time for an annual review. Jen wants to set up a time to meet with you. They schedule that for me. They're doing the finder activity preparation. And definitely they're doing my appointment setting. I don't do any more appointment setting where I'm bantering back and forth in emails. I have next Tuesday at this and that, and it just takes too much time. So they schedule all of my appointments. So doing the finder, minder, and grinder allows me to time block much better. So because I'm not doing those activities in the minder section of babysitting the file, I'm aware of what's going on, but because I'm not doing that, I'm able to go out and do what is fun and bring more and more and more business in. And the challenge is, and it's really exciting because I think about this in my market, and we used to know this in sales, if you're not in front of your client, your competition is. Well, I love when my competition's babysitting their file, because guess who's in front of their client? Me. So structure is huge in your business. If you can time block and you can segment times during the day where you're going to make these phone calls and that you're going to get out and have these breaking breads that Scott was talking about, and you're doing all of that, it's going to give you more and more time to go out and generate business. Let your assistant or your production partner take care of the communication with people. And if there's one thing I could always say is, the sooner you can hire an assistant, the better. It's worth it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. I mean, I love this chart. It's very easy to follow, and it makes sense. Finder, minder, grinder. I mean, it's really simple and easy to understand. And I think, based on the polling questions we asked in the beginning, 75% of the people on this call are closing less than 7 loans a month. And so
right.
When you think about it, when do you want to hire an assistant? Well, you want to hire, what we found, Scott and Jennifer and all these top producers, they have a similar way of looking at it. For every 5 to 6 loans that you do, you probably should think about bringing somebody else on board. Because when you think about it, if you get to 5 to 7 loans a month, you're not really going to be able to go much above that unless you bring on somebody to help you do some of these minder and grinder activities, because that's where, if you look at what you're spending your time on, that's where you're spending your time on. At least half of it is spent on these minder and grinder activities. And if you can bring somebody on board to do some of these things for you, then it will free up your time to get to the next level. And then once you get to 10 to 12 loans a month, the reason why you might be plateauing is probably because if you look at the way you're spending your time, it's on some of these finder and minder activities again, or these grinder and minder activities, right?
Right.
And
yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, you have to remember that you're, and I call it my practice. I don't call it my I'm a loan officer. I don't call it that. I call it my practice, and I have to act like it's a real business. And your practice is always evolving. And so the problems that you have when you're closing 1 to 2 loans, so the 23% of the people that are on the call that are closing 1 to 2 loans a month, those issues are trying to find people to have relationships with, and your only job should be finding. But when you start closing 3 to 4 and the 5 to 6, you become the finder and minder, you know, in working, you know, in those different things. And so sometimes you have to get out of your own way to succeed. But you have different challenges when you're doing 5 and 6 loans a month than you do with 1. 1 is, I don't have business, I need business. The 5 and 6 is, I could get more business if I could get out of the business I'm doing now. And so, right, you know, you're straddling 2 sides there, right? And so your business will evolve, and then once you get past 10 loans a month, your additional challenges are the number of people you have on your team, and making sure that there's not too much of double work or things are slipping through the cracks, and it's really that handoff and making sure that everyone knows their role. So just keep in mind that your business is always evolving, so even if you change what you're doing and subscribe to Finder, Minder, and Grinder, there will be times when there are changes and modifications that have to be made as you grow.
Right, and it's always about continual improvement, right? You want to make sure that you're continuously improving your business, improving your process, looking at it, evaluating it, measuring it so that then you can improve it. And I think that really brings us to the next point of transition. Before we get into some of the solutions in terms of how we can help you take some of the next steps and access some of these recordings and some of this content, I was wondering what you thought so far of what we shared with you. I know we've gone almost like a hurricane here, sharing with you a bunch of information. But I'd like for Beverly maybe to post the next polling question. I just want to take stock of where we are right now. Are you benefiting so far from the content or not? We'd really love to have you just share with us what you think so far. So Beverly, could you put that question up on the screen?
Yep, it's up. So if you guys could just tell us what you think. All right, I'm just going to give you a couple more seconds to vote, and then I will close it up. All right, I'm going to share the results with you now. Well, everyone's very kind. No, I'm kidding. It's great content. No one said terrible or not good, so we're doing very well here. 11% of you said just okay, 74% said great, and 16% said amazing.
Awesome. Well, hey, I certainly appreciate the feedback and you know, your willingness to spend some time with us today. I was thinking that we would spend the rest of the time sharing with you how to access some of the recordings and how to benefit from really joining what our mission is here at CMPS and the Top Producer Roundtable, which is really putting you in a position to improve lives through mortgage planning. So let me tell you a little bit about CMPS and what we do to see if you'd like to participate, and then we'll open it up for some questions for the balance of our time today. What we do at CMPS is the first thing is we have a certification course. It's a 15-hour course that focuses on helping you become a financial expert so that you can then begin teaching financial planners and realtors like what Jennifer is doing. Like right now she's in the middle of teaching a realtor class. Well, how do you know what to tell them when you get up in front of them? And you don't want to just, you know, talk about rates and programs. And so if you want to position yourself as an expert and grow your relationships with realtors and financial planners, if you're only doing 2 or 3 loans a month and you want to get to 4 or 5, if you're doing 4 or 5, you want to get to 6 or 7. If you're doing 7, you want to get to 9. You're doing 12, you want to get to 15. The first step is to find out how can you get in front of more referral partners. And what CMPS certification does is it gives you tax knowledge to be able to go out there and speak to financial planners and teach them. It gives you financial market knowledge to be able to talk to people about the market and give them market updates. It gives you cash flow planning knowledge, so you can go out there and share, you know, how the mortgage impacts somebody's life when they're going through a divorce. So you can work with divorce attorneys and estate planning attorneys. It gives you knowledge on real estate investors and how to compare loan options for investors. I mean, most loan officers, when it comes to working with real estate investors, they say, here's the rate, here's the point, but that doesn't mean anything to an investor. What matters to an investor is how do I make more money? And so we show you how to calculate rates of return and how to compare loan options for investors. We talk about daily habits, and at the end of the course, you get a business plan that you create for yourself, because I don't want to be the one telling you what to do. You want to tell yourself what to do based on what you want to do for your business. So we give you a business planning calculator, and we show you how to use it based on, do you have 10 years experience? Are you brand new to the business? Do you have 20 years experience? Do you have existing relationships? Do you need new relationships? And so the business planning module of CMPS is really powerful because it meets you where you're at. It's not a generic plan that just is for everybody. It's customized for you. Then once you graduate from the course, you get a certificate that you can hang in your office saying that you're certified, that you're different than everybody else. You're less than 1% of the originators in this country have the CMPS certification. And so are you one of the 520,000 people selling mortgages, or are you somebody special and unique who's taken this course, gotten certified, to be able to offer these continuing education classes? And that's one of the big things that Craig and Jennifer do is, they teach financial planners courses, and these financial planners walk away with continuing education credit. And so how cool would that be? Once you graduate from the course, we give you 7 presentations that are all approved for continuing education, where you can go out and teach financial planners exactly what you learned, and they receive CE for hearing you speak. And then you can also go out and teach realtors. And we give you 7 presentations to go out there and teach realtors and share with them your unique skills and knowledge. And so once you graduate from the training, we know that everybody has really great intentions. And I tell you, I've trained over 7,000 people, and I know what works and what doesn't work. Training by itself does not work. Even if you've got the best course in the world, and I'm kind of biased, I think I've got the best course in the world, but if you're just going to take the course and do nothing with it, it's completely going to be meaningless to you. And so here's a chart showing you the law of diminishing intent. It's called LODI. And what it shows you is your intention to implement something when you first hear about it is way up here. But then as time goes by, your intent to implement really diminishes, and you end up not implementing at all, right? And so the key is to be able to take action here when the idea is fresh in your mind, fresh in your memory. And so that's what our weekly coaching does for you. We get together every week for 30 minutes, very short, sweet, to the point, very targeted. And let me show you examples of what we talk about on our coaching calls. Like this last week was about time management and about hiring assistants. And so we gave you a implementation resource right here, a flow chart on how do you know whether you need an assistant. And so it's a really nice flow chart, 5 questions to answer, and a flow chart. Do I need an assistant? No, I move on to this. I don't need an assistant, and here's what I need to do in my business. Or yes, I do need an assistant. I go to the next step, and these are the questions I have to answer. So we went through that on our coaching call, and we also gave you an activity tracker right here, where you're able to track your activities and manage your time. And so the assignment for the week, we give you an assignment that you can complete in 30 minutes a day, is to implement some of the resources that we give you on our coaching calls. And it keeps you targeted, it keeps you focused, and it keeps you aligned with where you want to go for your business. And so our coaching is very powerful. And right now there's people in our industry who are paying thousands of dollars for coaching, and we don't charge thousands of dollars. It's all part of the membership, and it's all inclusive. The other thing that we give you with your membership is a whole content marketing system. And right now there's people paying lots of money for marketing, but we include that with the membership, where you get these articles that are customized with your contact info, and it's not generic stuff. Think about it. The Federal Reserve is buying over half of all mortgages that are issued. In some cases, the entire supply of mortgages is being purchased by the Federal Reserve. And so how would it be like if you can just click and send a client an article explaining this, showing them a chart, here's what's driving up mortgage rates, here's why interest rates went up because the Fed said this or they said that, and it really explains what's going on in the market. We also give you articles on things like the gift tax and how does that work, if somebody's using gift money for a down payment. So it's articles, over 50 of them, that are customized with your contact info at the bottom, so it looks like you wrote the article. And you can either send this link to somebody. It's all mobile responsive design, so if they're looking at it on their cell phone, it looks very nice and elegant. Looks nice on an iPad. So it's all the latest and greatest technology, especially if you want to attract the millennial generation, because the content is great and the technology and the format's great as well. We also give you the bond market information. A lot of people pay extra for bond market data. They pay $50 a month or $70 a month just to get access to the bond market, but that's included with the membership now. So we give you a dashboard here with your real-time bond market info. You can see a chart of what's happening. You can do technical analysis or not. And then you get this daily update that you can send to clients or referral partners, or you don't even have to send it if you don't want to. You just put a link in your email signature with an update every day of what's happening in the bond market, with an economic calendar, a chart of what's going on, and then 3 simple questions as to what's happening in the bond market. In addition to that, we give you these loan comparison reports that you can share with borrowers and referral partners and compare their loan options. I mean, think about this. When you send clients a loan estimate of what it's going to cost to do a mortgage, and they ask you, well, what about if I do a 30-year versus a 15-year? What do you send them? Most people in the loan business, they send an itemized fee worksheet, right? And so a client wants to know, is it smarter to use a 30-year or a 15-year mortgage, and you're sending a list of closing costs. How is that helping them make a smart decision? It's not, right? And so what we do is we give you these loan comparison reports that you can create for your clients within 5 minutes. You can do this. It's a nice graph and picture showing the difference in the monthly payment, showing the difference on their net worth. What if I invested the extra cash flow with the 30-year mortgage? Well, now I just create an extra $20,000 in wealth over the next 7 years. Or over the life of the loan, I just create an extra $1 million in wealth by investing that difference over time. And so that's where you want to be focused. That's where the conversation you want to take it with the borrower. You can also do these for realtors, like on an open house flyer. You can create a loan comparison for them. You can record a video at the bottom. So it's really a very powerful way of illustrating loan options. And so that's part of your membership. We give you a CRM. That's part of your membership. I mean, Steve's big takeaway is managing your client relationship for life, being their mortgage planner for life. And one of the key elements of doing that is making sure that you keep their data in a CRM. And so we give you a CRM with your membership where you can click and see what the borrower's priorities. You can add tags and categorize them. You can send them an email marketing campaign. So for instance, if you've got a pre-approval, you can put them into a pre-approval campaign, and every week for the next 12 weeks, they will receive an article from you, how to understand APR, how to understand your credits, how to improve your credit score. And so that's all part of the membership. We've got campaigns for realtors, campaigns for financial planners. So I guess what I'm saying to you here is it's a whole system. It's not just a training course. We give you the training course, we give you coaching, we give you the system to be able to be a top producer, to do the things that you really want to do, to have fun again in the mortgage business, to impact lives, and really be a true certified mortgage planning specialist. So we're pretty excited about having you participate if you think it's something you'd like to do. There's 2 ways for you to participate, and then once you participate, you also receive access to our all the top producer roundtable recordings and all the presentations and all the implementation materials. You also get access to the 8-hour NMLS course. I mean, that's something we throw in there as well. That'll save you about $100 a year because that's part of your membership. And so if you want to participate, the way you do that is the pricing is, if you were to pay for everything separately, if you were just to pay for the certification course and the NMLS course and the weekly coaching and the marketing and the teaching the CE classes to financial planners and the MBS service and all these other things, you'd be looking at about $600 a month is what you would have to pay if you were to buy everything separately. But we've bundled it all into one low price of $79 a month or $7.99 a year for the annual membership. If you want to go to a live event and get certified over a 3-day live event and walk away with a whole year of membership, that's $9.99. And so if you want to do this today, we are giving you the same discount that we gave at the top producer event, which is $99 off of the annual price or $99 off of the live event price. This discount is only available today because we're closing out this discount. This is the last top producer type of event that we're doing here. And so the monthly, we can't really discount that beyond where it is now, But if you want to sign up for an annual membership, it's all inclusive. Everything that I showed you, it's all part of the package. $700 a year, or the live event is $900. We're doing a live event in Los Angeles, and we're doing one in Boston. So the dates and locations of our live events, we've got May 18th to the 20th in Boston, May 13th to the 15th in Marina Del Rey, California. And you can sign up for it by going to cmpsinstitute.org. And so if you just go to cmpsinstitute.org and then you click on pricing, that's how you can choose which plan you want. And then if you choose the live event, it'll ask you which live events you want to go to. If you choose either of these two options, you can just sign up using your discount code for the annual event. So what you do is you click there to sign up, and then on the registration page, you input the discount code that I gave you right here. It's TPRT, for Top Producer Roundtable, and that will give you the discount that we're talking about here. So that's what we do at CMPS. We would love to have you participate and get access to all these benefits and all the top producer recordings. Do you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you while we're on today's call? Oh, by the way, Jennifer, are you still there?
I'm still here. I have just a few more minutes, so if anyone has any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the next 4 or 5 minutes I have.
Okay.
Perfect.
And you have some questions coming in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jabron. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I have a question. How do the gifts to partners and clients not violate RESPA?
Because
this is
you're
from
not
Brent.
giving, you're not giving the gift in exchange for a referral. If you were giving the gift in exchange for a referral, that would violate RESPA, because you're not allowed to give somebody something in exchange for a referral. But if you're giving somebody a gift as a closing gift, or as, because they're a client of yours, because they've closed a loan with you, that does not violate RESPA.
Right.
Okay,
that's the
great.
answer.
And then the next question, when you hand off tasks between your team and your assistants, how do you keep the quality of service?
Yeah, that's a question we got at every single event that we were at. The thing is, if you can imagine, a race, back when you were in high school, when you have a baton, you have to be really, really clear on the baton. If you hand the baton and it falls on the floor, that's a problem. If you hand the baton and you don't let go and you keep running with them, that's not doing anyone any good either. It's not serving you, your team members, or your client. So ideally what has to happen is you have to be in a great position, clear understanding and setting expectations with your clients to help them understand that you are handing off the next phase of the loan process to someone else who is more equipped to handle that business and provide the client with better service than you are, because of the nature of what you're doing in your business. So for example, when I'm sitting with a client, I'm saying, the next step is that my production partner is going to be taking this over. His name is Trey. And he's going to be gathering up all of the paperwork with you. Continue to gather that up. He's going to be answering your questions about the loan process as we go through that process. I'm always here to talk to you about interest rates, and I'm always here to talk to you about restructure if for some reason we have to restructure during the course of the loan process. But for everything else, he's going to be the person. And the reason why is because I'm sitting here and I'm meeting with you right now. I'm dedicating my time to taking care of your needs. And I can't possibly return emails, answer phone calls, do all those things. I'm not helping those clients by having them wait while I'm sitting here with you. And the same token happens when you're in the next phase. I don't want you to be waiting either. So I'm not present if I am, and this is for us as loan officers, I'm not present when I'm meeting with a client and I'm thinking about the appraisal that just went awry. And I'm not present and serving that client when I'm sitting with them, when I'm thinking about all of the paperwork that's coming in from another client and they're emailing me and saying, hey, what's going on? What's the status? Help me out, this, that, and the other. So we serve ourselves and we serve our clients better when we delegate that out. It's just a matter of sitting with the client and helping them understand who the people are and what their roles are and able to serve them better. And Jabron says it better than anybody. and a lot of us were talking about it, are you a diner type of business or are you a 5-star restaurant type of business? You know, where you go, hey, waitress, as she's running by and she says, I'll get back to you in a minute, and she's scattered and she's this, that, and the other. Or are you at a restaurant where 5 people are serving you and it's bang-up service, whether the restaurant is full or vacant? And so you're going to give 5-star service when you have multiple people, because as long as your client understands what their roles are.
Excellent.
That's a great point. Yep.
Okay, we're going to do one more question, and then unfortunately we're going to have to close up. This person said they work in a different location from their branch office. What do you recommend for face-to-face meetings with a borrower or client?
I meet with them everywhere. I meet with them in Starbucks. I meet with them at Panera Bread. I meet at their home. I meet at my office. You know, I meet wherever is convenient for them, as long as it fits into my time blocking schedule. So I am not driving from pillar to post. If I'm going to have a one-to-one with a realtor in one location, then I'm going to try to meet the client as close as I can to that location. Or if I'm going to an estate planner's office, I'm going to meet with the client as close as I can to there. So you have to, instead of saying, this is the difference between being on demand versus in demand. Okay, and there's a big key difference. So I'm not available unless it fits my schedule. And so I don't say, I'm open. When do you want to meet? I say, I have next Tuesday in this location, or Wednesday in that location at these times. So you have to take more control of your business instead of your business having control of you. And that is a big difference between being on demand and in demand, and running amok versus having a practice. So hopefully that answers that question.
Excellent. And one more question, and kind of related to it. About how many face-to-face meetings do you do a week on average?
Okay. Well, I do at least 2 face-to-face meetings per day with my referral partners. And then my clients on top of that. So I'm usually doing 2 to 3 client meetings a day and 2 to 3 referral partner meetings, because remember, I meet my clients. Now, you're going to have to figure out what works best for you, because my children are grown up. I'm a grandma, so I don't have the evenings to have to worry about. So my day looks like this. I wake up in the morning, I do my affirmations and my stretching and my praying and my coordinating for the day. I make my first and 10 phone calls from 9 to 10 religiously every day, and my first appointment isn't until 10:30 every day. So I go into the evening with my appointments. And just for a note, on a side note for everybody, I'm also a ballroom dancer. I dance every single night. You can do it. You can get all this fit in if you're purposeful in all of your activities and you're prioritizing things. You're going to be able to do this. So I'm out gallivanting and in front of people and teaching classes every day, all day.
Amazing. Ron, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just think it's really great. I appreciate your spending some time with us today, Jen. I know that you're in the middle of teaching a class, and certainly appreciate your insights today, as well as on the Top Producer Tour. It was really great having you.
Thanks, Jabron. It was fun.
As one of our, yeah.
It was great. Well, thank you.
Okay, good.
Have a great week.
You too.
All right,
and, yes, thank you everyone for attending, taking time out of your day for the webinar. And thank you, Jabron and Jen, for a great presentation, a lot of great ideas for people to bring to their businesses. If you still have questions after the webinar, we will be sending out an email tomorrow with the recording and the PowerPoint, so you can watch again and look through the PowerPoint. And you can always respond to that email, and we'll make sure that Jabron gets your questions and he can answer.
Great, thank you.
So I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thanks, Beverly. Thanks, Jen. Bye-bye.
Sure.